Happiness through curiosity on TRS Clips. What comes to your mind when you hear the following words? Savarkar,
Patriot,
India,
diverse,
RSS,
nationalist,
Khalistan,
separatist,
Primetime News,
noise,
Vikram Sampath,
complex.
Complex. Really?
Well, yes.
Okay. Indian history?
Distorted.
Wow, okay. Mahabharat.
True nature of human beings.
Okay. Do you believe it happened?
Yes, it did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to talk about this at some point. Ramayan.
Virtuous.
Okay. Shivaji Maharaj.
Valor.
Arnab Goswami.
Friend. Safe.
Next question. If you could go back to 3 different, distant periods of Indian history for research purposes, which 3 periods would you go back to and
3
why?
periods.
Yeah.
The first, like I mentioned, I'm really very curious to know this evolution of Buddhism in India. Is it really what it's made out to be, that it was in the frame of a Protestant religion? We are the Catholic and the Protestant image has been superimposed on India, saying the Jain and the Buddhists were Protestant religions. Was it really that? What was the trajectory of that through ancient India? How did the twists and turns happen, and why did it decline? Was there intellectual conflict between these different panths of Sanatan Dharma, or were there physical violence? Was there oppression? I'd love to go and be a fly on the wall through this long period of history and see that trajectory. I think the other period I would love to go to is that of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, and actually see what was his motivation of this whole Hindavi Swaraj. Did he actually give that concept? Was it what was this burning desire, though his father Shahji and others were part of the Bijapur Sultanate, why was this drive to carve out an empire and lay the foundations of something which became a pan-Indian empire in the centuries to come? So that was a very interesting period which I would like to go, which is early modern period. And then maybe the third period is the modern times, when I would like to see the freedom movement from its earliest phase. I don't know how long I'm allowed to live in this past, maybe 80, 90 years. Then, from the 1857 till 1946, if I can live and see bird's eye view of all the things that were going on, who were the people who were actually doing what they were doing, and what did it contribute to the final attainment of freedom as we spoke.
List 5 things that India lost because of being taken over the last 1,000 years.
First of all, I think our leadership in the world, global leadership, when it came to prowess and so on.
What?
Yes. Yes, that was one. Secondly, our knowledge systems, I think, which was most badly hit. All our great universities. Our universities were the Princetons and Stanfords and Harvards of the time. Nalanda, Vikramshila, Takshashila, and all these places where people from all over the world would come. Hyun-sang, Fahian, all these people would come to our universities to study. So those universities destroyed. The knowledge hub that we lost. The wealth, we spoke about how our GDP, world GDP as a percentage of world GDP, India's share constantly declined. That was one thing. And our sense of identity, our sense of, confidence. Yeah, confidence in ourselves and what we are, that was gone. And finally, I think this respect for our own culture, our traditions, our languages. Still, I think we have families which don't encourage the children to speak in the mother tongue, right? I mean, English is what, even with your pet dog or something, you'll train it to talk to it only in English. We feel somehow that it's below our dignity to talk in a Hindi or a Marathi, Kannada, whatever, in public. So that whole inferiority that we've had. So again, it comes back to your original this thing of political subjugation, economic subjugation, intellectual colonization. All of this is what we lost.
What's the truth about khadi? Other than that one paragraph in our textbooks, where they say, oh, Gandhi promoted khadi. Full stop. What the fuck happened after that?
Yeah.
What happened to this whole khadi thing? There was a khadi store near the house I grew up in.
Mm-hmm.
No one ever visited. It was the most empty, sad looking store, and it's replaced by a modern tailor shop now.
I think when it started, it was a great initiative because this was a very symbolic resistance against that we will make our own clothes. We will not wear the clothes which were made in Manchester and all the European mills based on raw materials that came from colonies like us. We will use our own raw materials. So it was a very potent symbol of self-reliance. Today we say Atmanirbhar Bharat and all those things. So it's similar kind of a thing then of Swadeshi. And I think that fueled the whole bonfire that was there of foreign goods, and that we will not use any foreign items and we will make our own things ourselves. That was a very potent symbol, and also economic resistance against British imperialism. So the way it started was great, but post independence, since that equation was no longer there was no foreign power against whom you had to protest against and not use. I think that's where the importance of khadi itself declined, and it was today I don't know how it is. Maybe you need to contemporize it. Modern fashion designers and others need to work on khadi, but on designs which are more contemporary, which the younger generation can also use. It need not be, as you said, dull and boring. Colors are boring. There's no design. It's almost like you start wearing khadi, you look like a 90-year-old man or woman.
Little hypothetical question again. If Bhagat Singh was not captured and jailed and eventually hanged, if he lived a life where he eventually passed away in independent India, how do you think the Indian story would pan out? And what would his position be in politics?
Oh my God, he would have been the main opposition leader to Gandhi and Nehru and made their life miserable because I don't think he subscribed to their notion of what political freedom was or how to attain it through non-violent means at all.
And what else?
Well, he would have always been a thorn in their flesh and not allowed. Maybe he would have been the principal opposition party and at some point maybe snatched power also from them if he was popular enough and had supporters and built that up along the way.
What's the story of the rise of the BJP? Like, I think up till the 70s, there was no strong opposition or something, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, the BJP came up only in 1980, 81. We had the Unsung before that, which was the parent body of the BJP, which was formed by Shyama Prasad Mukherjee, who was in the Hindu Mahasabha under Savarkar. And the Unsung was hardly a party of any relevance. Of course, a few leaders, Atal Bihari Vajpayee and Lal Krishna Advani and others, who had their grooming in the Unsung days and came up. But it was really, there was really no opposition from panchayat to parliament. It was completely occupied by the Congress. There was a single, I think the tipping point was with the emergency, and when the people of India started really feeling that
need for a change,
need for an alternative. You had people like Jayaprakash Narayan and others who in whom people saw that hope that you can give a alternative government. 2 years of the Janata Party, which after the emergency was not a great experience for Indians, but the first start had been made because that was the first time we had a non-Congress government after 30 years after independence. So for 30 years, India and Indians reposed their faith only in one party and one family till then, with barring that little phase of Lal Bahadur Shastri. But then after that, once this need for change starts coming, I think that politics is a reflection of societal needs. So political parties do not get formed by themselves, I believe. I think they are manifestations of people's aspirations.
Of the times.
And so when there is this need for a change, when there is a need for an alternative. The alternative came, and that came in different forms. You had the communist parties, you had the BJP, which came only in the 80s, and the BJP was had 2 MPs in 84 or so, and today they are 303 in just about 30-40 years. So that's a huge journey.
I believe that if he was alive, there would be some third kind of just party.
Who alive?
If Bhagat Singh was not if he were alive, if he was alive post Indian independence, there would have been a strong opposition party which would have grown independently.
Yeah.
And maybe that would have forced the reigning government at the time to make even better decisions to up their own game. Like, Ronaldo exists because Messi exists. Like Ronaldo became the player he became because Messi was off that level, and he had to keep upping his own game. And it's the same for Messi eventually when Ronaldo overtook him. So when there are 2 people competing, it actually improves performance of both.
So, but that was the whole point, Ranveer, where Nehru, whom we attribute a lot of liberalism and all that with, I think somewhere deep down he was a highly insecure man. He would not brook any opposition. Within the party too, Sardar Patel and he had a lot of differences of opinion, right? And in fact, the day Gandhi was shot at, the last meeting he had was with Sardar Patel and his daughter, who had come to meet him. And Sardar Patel, who was the home minister, had actually literally resigned from his position. He said, I can't work with Nehru. And he had come to Gandhi that evening, 4:30 or something, 45 minutes before his assassination, and told him that, I'm not going to work in the government. And Gandhi said, no, you and Nehru are like my 2 eyes, and you both need to work together. And tomorrow let's sit together and I'll thrash out all your differences. Of course, there was no tomorrow for him, because 45 minutes later he was shot dead. But there were differences with Sardar Patel, which lasted, and luckily or whatever for Nehru, Sardar Patel died very early. But all the other political opponents, Ambedkar and he never got along, though Ambedkar was the law minister in his government. Ambedkar was marginalized by the Congress. They put candidates against him. Today they appropriate him as well and call him a Dalit icon and all of that. But in his lifetime, I don't think he got that respect from the Congress. The Hindu right, which was represented by Savarkar and Shyama Prasad Mukherjee and others, were again all the time vilified. Savarkar, the false case of Gandhi's murder put on him so that stigma remains with him all the time. It was a fixed case, which was done at the behest of the government of the time. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee, though he was a part of the government, he was constantly, he had to carry the albatross of Savarkar's, whatever alleged involvement. And eventually Shyama Prasad left the government, formed the Unsung, but then he died under very mysterious circumstances in Kashmir while he was protesting against the Article 370, which he wanted removed, which gets removed now in this government. So in the 1952 or 53, when he died, no one knows how he died and why he died in detention in Kashmir. So by 1955 or so, all the political opposition is virtually dead or,
Killed.
marginalized. Killed, sidelined, whatever. Killed is, I wouldn't go there.
Sorry, I was just making spicy podcast content here. Go on, sir.
And even before the first general elections, which was in 51, before that, Savarkar and the entire Hindu Mahasabha was actually put in jail because they were commenting against Pakistan. And at that time, Nehru-Liaquat Ali Pact was being signed. And so this thing was, if you speak against the dismemberment of a foreign nation, you are anti-national. And since these people were talking about Akhand Bharat and, reunification of India, it was implied that they are anti-national. And so when the prime ministers of the two countries are signing a pact, all these opposition leaders need to be put in jail. And Savarkar also had to give a pledge that, and all of them, the others, that till the time of the elections, we are not going to talk about all this, or we are not going to indulge in politics. Now, what's the point of having an election if all the opposition leaders are in jail? Then when you are very much assured that you are the winner, when there's no, second rung fighting there. So what sort of a, democratic setup was that. So then once power comes, then you consolidate, and then you have only your daughter, you bring your people into it, and so on. So I think that entrenchment of politics with dynasty started then, which was very different from what I think the Congress philosophy was pre-independence, where it was like an umbrella organization of all kinds of people, ideologies, and characters who could be a part of it. But post that, that steadily, I think, declined post-independence.
Dudes like you need to be asked the right questions. So all this data in your head, man, but like you need to be thrown the right questions. Anyway, next question, sir. Other than Modi, Indira Gandhi, and Atal Bihari Vajpayee, who are 3 iconic PMs of India according to you?
3 is a lot.
Wow. Name one.
Lal Bahadur Shastri. I think very underrated. Short, statured, very timid kind of a prime minister, but then the kind of leadership role that he did in the war.
Hold this thought. This is a tangent we'll break down later.
Mm-hmm.
Next guy.
You said only one.
Oh. Okay.
Narasimha Rao, I think, though he had his negatives also, but then I think the very fact that today Indian economy is what it is, people do give credit to Manmohan Singh, but unless you have the prime minister, leading the charge, and he was a minority government, Narasimha Rao. It was always unstable and so on. But despite that, it was such an iconic, move to unleash the animal spirit of India and her economy, the people. And today we would have still been a developing third world country that we were in the days of socialism, Nehruvian socialism that we had earlier. So I think he is a very underrated. But after that, we've had all
randos.
This whole Khichdi Sarkar that we had, Gujral, Deve Gowda. Would you even count them as prime ministers of or VP Singh, Chandrasekhar? Hardly any. They lasted for a year or two, didn't do anything significant. And the 10 years that Manmohan Singh was there, I think it was such a wasted decade for India. So
hold this thought. Another thing we can expand. All right. Are you ready for the next one?
Indeed.
Name your 3 picks for the next possible PM of India.
Oh God.
Good luck.
Oh my God. Now I'll get further slotted into this or that.
It's just a hypothetical question. I think, you're an Indian. You have a right to express
of course.
Opinion.
I would say, pan parties. I wouldn't go only with...
Go for it.
I think for the longest time, the BJP is going to be in power because they are blessed with an opposition that they have today. Yeah. But if at all from the other side, if there's someone like a Sachin Pilot would make for a great leader.
Wow.
I think he would be...
Why?
The man understands. He was the one who's credited with getting Rajasthan out of the rut for the Congress and putting it back on track, but he never got the credit, and it went to Gehlot, who actually had quite ruined the party and continues to do it. So I think, and he's young, he's educated, he probably understands the way things are. Smriti Irani, if we really need to have a woman prime minister, I think that's important.
What do you like about her as a politician?
Again, her short stint as the HRD minister, I think the kind of, she's not given credit for that, but I think the kind of changes that she tried to bring in the wake of lots of opposition, that the entrenched, leftist entrenchment within academia, it was really very, very brave of her. And that's why her successive ministers in the HRD have never managed to upset the apple cart so much. They'd rather go with status quo, make some cosmetic changes and so on. So I think she's someone, and the guts that she showed in Amethi, it's one thing to get defeated in a constituency, but to nurture it even after your defeat and take it as a challenge, and then a constituency which has been a family bastion for decades, to be the underdog and then challenge and come there, I think that was quite a
Shows character.
yeah, it shows courage, it shows never say die attitude, which is what I think the India of the future will need. The third one, I don't know, maybe Yogi Adityanath, considering he's Dabang character, if he's able to fix a UP, which has been known for its law and order and mafia and all of that, and today the law and order situation there getting better. The mafia is scared rather than the people being scared of the mafia. Of course, encounters and all of that, we're seeing that all the time there. But there's a growth trajectory also of UP, which has not been. It's always been under the Bimaru category of states. Right? Today, we're seeing a different trend there. So I think...
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Three very different people.
No. Cool. Nicest answer. We've asked people these questions.
What are the other choices people usually give?
Nitin Gadkari.
Oh. But he's old. I mean, he's almost...
Amit Shah.
Okay.
Like, these are the usuals.
Okay.
But cool. Good answer. Best answer for this question on the show.
Thank you.
What's the biggest Indian conspiracy theory that fascinates you?
About this whole, Tashkent files, that the KGB was completely, controlling this country, and I don't know, the Mitrokin archives, where I don't know if it's completely conspiracy theory. Maybe there's a lot of element of truth to it. And Lal Bahadur Shastri's death, was it natural? Was he poisoned?
That's going to be the whole segment after this round, just by the way. But
Yeah.
go on.
Oh my God. Okay. So all of that, I think is interesting.
All right. 3 biggest historical mistakes made by Indian people.
Oh, lots of them, I think. The very fact that we
Trusted.
And we thought that the European who came were just traders, and we involved them in our gharelu conflicts and fight against one another, not realizing that they had larger ambitions. We didn't understand the intent of colonization and what it came here for. Maybe that. Then our own constant mistrust, and that was not how it was, Ranveer, because I keep saying this all the time, that after the death of the Prophet, Islam went on a complete this one to conquer the whole world expedition, and within less than a century of his passing away, almost the whole of Central Asia, Northern Africa, all of this came under Islamic control and the might of the Caliph and the sword of Islam. And Islam spread from there till the very gates of India. But in India, it took them 500 years to set up the first Islamic Sultanate in 1206 with the Delhi Sultanate. In the interim, you had waves of attacks, whether it was the Arabs who came. They could occupy only a small part of Sindh in the Arab invasion of Sindh. But beyond Sindh, they could not occupy the rest of India. So who were the people who led those resistances? In my book called Bravehearts of Bharat, I actually document some of these unsung warriors, and people like Lalitaditya Mukta Pida of Kashmir. I don't know if you've heard of this name. So him, there was Yasho Varman of Kannauj, and also there was an entire group of kings who formed alliances. Bappa Rawal, Pulakesin, Vikramaditya of the south and the western part of India, Danti Durga from the Rashtrakutas, all of them forming alliances to ensure that the Arabs were pushed out, and beyond Sindh they could not occupy much. Then when the Turkic invasions happened of Muhammad Ghazni and Ghori and all of that, you had several people, including a woman called Naiki Devi of Gujarat, a woman Chalukya queen of Gujarat, who in 1178, in what was known as the Battle of Kasarhada, actually defeated Muhammad Ghori. And Ghori was so ashamed to be defeated by a lady that he never turned back towards Gujarat. So you had, as I said, for 500 years, you had lots of resistance, pushback against invasions of every kind. And it took them that long, 5 centuries, to establish their dominance, whereas other parts of the world had succumbed within a few decades after the profits going. So that showed that there was something in us. There was that resilience. There were that, forming alliances. They were fighting with each other. But when an external force came, they all got together and grouped. So that sense of camaraderie somehow went away as we succumbed to invasions. We started distrusting, fighting among ourselves.
And it still goes on today.
Egos, all of that. And insecurity, suspicious about each other, and that is what was capitalized by the invader. Carnatic wars, which you had in the 18th century, where the English and the French were fighting in succession wars of the Nizam, the Nawabs of Arcot, Mysore, all these kingdoms. There's a potpourri for disaster. And so history, I think, shows us also a mirror where we can say these mistakes we shouldn't recommit, because as they famously say, history repeats itself because no one was listening to it the first time.
Most stylish and impactful historian in India who doesn't get his due?
I think ARSC Majumdar. I would rate him very high because, as I said, though he was castigated by the government and kept away from it, he said, I don't care for your government project. I will do my work irrespective. And his 11 volumes that he has written on the history of the people and cultures of India, 3 of which is on the history of the freedom movement. I think they are epochal and people need to, now it's slowly coming back in print. And people are revisiting it. A very dispassionate, non-ideologically tainted, facts as they are. Indian history, the Indian word is itihasa, right? Itihasa in Sanskrit translate to it thus happened. That is what history needs to be. It just needs to, a historian should not be a judge, should not give your value judgments of today's politics, today's standards, today's, woke definitions and all of that. You just narrate the facts, documents, illuminate the archives, bring out the documents, leave it to the public to judge. Sadly, ideologically, tainted and tilted historians tend to put their value judgments into it. And ARSC Majumdar is one such who doesn't do that, who gives you the facts as they are.
You know that his legacy is now in your hands, right?
I don't carry so much weight on my shoulders at all.
That's our next podcast. So I'm telling you, I mean, how else will it come through unless we find an ARSC Majumdar expert sitting somewhere in India?
Yeah.
And if you value him, I'm sure as a perpetual lifelong student, your next phase is going to be to deep dive into his work.
Correct.
In some form or the other.
Or use his methodology for my own writing, which is what I try to do. Because his work is also dated. I think history needs to constantly be evaluated, reevaluated, revisited in a modern context.
Do you, little self-ass-licking question for me, but do you actually see podcasts as a important cultural tool for our future generations?
I think so, because, my books, if you've seen my 2 Savarkar volumes, each one is 800, 900 pages, running into, I think, 2 lakh words and all of that. I don't know how much of the younger generation has in this attention span, 140 characters, Twitter era, where and 1 minute Insta Reels generation. But still, the books have done phenomenally well. Among them, they've sold more than 1 lakh copies and all of that. So, which is very encouraging for me. But at the same time, that's a small percentage in a country of a population like this, right? So, podcasts, YouTube, and platforms like this, social media is a great way to disseminate that in formats and in capsules which are consumable and digestible for people who may not be, this may be a trigger. So after listening to us, someone may say, hey, I think I liked what this person said. Let me read a little more of what he or she has written. I think which is a nice side effect of this. It draws people into the habit of reading and learning more. So it's a great catalyst to gain more information.
Cool. So if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to TRS Clips for more.